Hi, it's Tony and Rob here, and in this video, we wanted to talk about why trellispark is great for business analysts and citizen developers. So, Tony, why is it even fun for business analysts and citizen developers to use trellispark?
I think it's a really cool tool for business analysts. It changes the way they think about their job and what they can do. So, traditionally, a business analyst is sat between the business stakeholders and the developers. They're doing a lot of documentation, they're producing wireframes, they're going through an iterative process where they talk to the business stakeholders, they come up with a whole bunch of requirements that they hand over to devs, and the devs take a few weeks or months to build them, then they come back and they go through the cycle again and again and again, right? Because what the business asked for, is what they meant on that day, but when they actually see it, it's not actually what they want, right? So, one of the really cool things about trellispark that makes it fun for BAs is it totally changes their role, right? They're able to shape the actual user experience in real time with the business stakeholders in the room. And this eliminates that big cycle where they've got to produce all of these requirements, documents and wireframes and iterations. And then, they get blamed by the business because the devs didn't do what they want. And the devs blame them because, they gave them the wrong requirements. And all of that's going to basically evaporate, right? So the BA is able to sit down with the tool and build the actual user experience. And this is so cool. The other really nice thing about this, right, is that the BA doesn't have to be afraid anymore of putting down the wrong requirement, because they're getting validation immediately from the business stakeholders that, yes, I do need this field, and it does need to be there, and it does need to look like this, right? And they know that if the business requirement changes, if the stakeholder decides that they need a new field or a different field in a different location, that it's minutes of work to actually change it, and that they are in control of that change process. So from a business analyst perspective, we're really empowering them, to build an actual working user experience. And the really cool thing about this is that you don't have to get it 100% right and perfect first time. So let's say you go into production. So, day 2, day 3, you're in production, and the business stakeholder comes back and says, you know what, I'm so sorry, I forgot this. Right? Can you add this to the solution? It's
which always happens.
Business all the time, right?
Yeah.
But it's not something to be afraid of anymore, right? The business analyst can add the new field, they can add the new button, they can talk to the dev, to get that change made. So, it's reducing that fear, it's reducing the turnaround time, it's eliminating the documentation, it's just making it so much easier for the BA to deliver true value.
Yeah, and just to clarify that, the BAs and citizen developers can actually change and manipulate that user experience themselves with the business in the room in real time, and they don't have to go to the developers to do that. So it's very much like a no-code kind of scenario. But the difference is that in trellispark, you've actually evaporated all the actual code behind. So you can actually create any kind of user experience doing that. That is so cool. But, from a freedom perspective then and control, how do the BAs have that freedom and control and with trellispark? Like how far can you really go in being able to do this?
So out of the box, we provide basically a form builder user experience that allows a BA working with business stakeholders to design forms. And from, that form builder, we provide a very wide range of user controls, out of the box, for common things like numbers, tables. Most of what developers need is probably already in the user control box. From that form builder, they can build and tailor a very highly responsive user experience that will meet the needs of their business stakeholders. Part of the training and part of the value add of trellispark is that we also provide a lot of example data models that the BAs can download and freely customize, to jumpstart their solutions. So we have things like, say, customer and client management, vendor management, some pricing orders, invoices. So there's a whole bunch of different components that the BA can take, can look at for examples and ideas and inspiration, and then they can tweak them, exactly the way they want them, right? It's not like these tables exist and, say something like, say, Dynamics, right? These tables would already exist and you'd actually be trying to suppress functionality that you didn't need. In trellispark, we're giving you these sample components that you can then change anything about how they work, or whether or not you even need to use them. So we're giving you a very friendly, flexible way of actually building any sort of data model. We're giving you a ton of examples of data models based on best practice for you to pick up and use. And the net of this is that user experience development and solution design is directly in the hands of the BA, right? So the BA is not waiting for developers to move fields on a form or to add a field for a form. They're doing that themselves, and they have a very big toolkit to be able to produce that user experience.
Wow, I mean, that's really interesting, because it sounds like then what's happening is the role for the BAs is not only changed with working with the business, but it's fundamentally changed with working with the development team. How does that role shift now in the interaction with the BAs and the dev team?
Yeah, I mean, this is like part of the magic almost of what trellispark is able to do, right? Because as we've already talked about, as a business analyst, you're now creating a data model that describes the actual user experience. And one of the key things about that user experience is that 90% of the code that you would normally create to read the data off the database, to present it to the user, to update it, to write it back, all of that has evaporated. There is none of that code anymore. So we don't need to be writing requirements for developers that do that. Okay, we can go to the developer and say, here is the actual user experience. So what I need to be able to do as a BA is say, well, there's a field or a button on this form. So I've got, say, a form that's going to process an order. There's a button on that form that says, in this state of this order, this user is allowed to push the button. And as a business analyst, I've already set all that up. That's job done. All I need to tell the developer is what happens when that button is pushed. How do you actually take the information off the order, process it, and put it back? So what we're doing is, as a business analyst, we're really helping to focus on what is the key requirement we need to give a developer to automate a specific piece of functionality on a form. The other cool thing that we have with this is that we have opened up the entire user experience for the developers to be able to customize. So let's say, for example, you need a control to, say, do a vehicle and an insurance policy, and I want to be able to put in a vehicle VIN number and use a mashup to Google or something to go and get all of the vehicle information, display it on these fields. Want one user control that nails that, right? I can go to my developer and say, I need a new type of field. I need a vehicle field. It's going to do this. Can you go away and build that for me and then drop it into the framework so I can use it on this form? And you can very focus, what that developer needs to do, what that field looks like in the context of, well, I'm just going to drop it on a standard form. Okay. So it's very easy for a BA now working with a dev team to be able to give very focused requirements on how a piece of functionality works, or how a very customized piece of the user experience is going to work. But the other final thing that we're able to do with our dev team is that we can talk to our dev team about creating secure custom connectors, because there's always going to be these low code, no code apps where I want to basically take information out of my secure data at rest database, and I want to be able to present that in some sort of Dynamics or Power App form, whatever. And so, I can talk to my developer, well, under this condition, I want to be able to extract a set of orders. I want some functionality, in an API, in a simple custom connector that I can push this button and process that order. And So the BA role really has now become much more active. The BA is responsible for defining the user experience. The BA is responsible for talking to a developer about some very specific detailed requirements you need, and then also enabling citizen developers to be able to take that functionality and run with it if they need to.
That's awesome. So I guess in summary then, it fundamentally changes the way BAs work with the business and the dev team. You've eliminated 90% of the requirements that you normally would need to actually document and specify, because you've eliminated 90% of the code and the entire process and the life cycle around that. And it gives you the power to work directly with the business to nail down the actual user experiences, and then go to the developers and then tell them accurately exactly what they need to do and be very precise and specific around that. And then we can provide you with tons of support and everything else. I mean, one of the other things that's great for trellispark and what we've done as Great Ideaz is we have created a whole arsenal of how-to videos and information to support you in the trellispark Academy. And if there is anything that you do need as far as additional questions or support, or you're struggling with something, you can always reach out to us. You can always open a ticket. That's always free, and we'll always respond to you. To learn more about Great Ideaz products and solutions, visit greatideaz.com. That's Great Ideaz with a Z.com. Thanks.